All right, yeah, we're good.
Okay.
All righty. So this week is the Yieldex case, or however you're supposed to say it. Start with the prayer. I can do that real quick.
Okay.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful that we're able to gather together and talk about this case, and we ask for thy spirit that we may have thy guidance, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So that's the spiritual thought, and I volunteer.
Spiritual thought. I got nothing right now.
Yes. In my one religion class, we were learning about like the plan of salvation, and we're learning about like temple work and how it's important to go in and do baptism for the dead and other ordinances so that we can bring joy to people's lives who've gone before us. And so I guess there's a short message, but I guess just like to continue to remember that we should always stay focused like on staying worthy to go into the temple so we can perform these ordinances and help those who have died before us.
Yeah, that's
Thank
a
you
great
for that.
thought. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Mhm.
Cool. So jumping right into the case, vote as a group. Should Doug accept the turn offer? Yes or no?
I would say no.
Yeah,
I would say no. Wait, we all said no?
Yes, I said no.
Oh, yeah, accept the offer? No, I don't think he should.
Oh, wow, we're all on the same page. That's good. That should make this quick and easy then.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I didn't think you should either.
Mm-mm.
Start your discussion with those who say Doug should accept the turn offer. If no one votes for that option, come up with the reasons why he should take the offer, even if nobody thinks it's a good idea. Well, none of us think it's a good idea, but maybe he should, just because his family might need the cash right now, and it would put him in a better state financially in the short run. But yeah, I guess that's really the only reason why he would.
Yeah.
Yes, because he said after he put his sons in bed, he went to plan and think about that option with his wife. So thinking about what the best decision would be. And a part of the case says that her wife should support the idea of getting a little bit of cash right away instead of just waiting to raise more money. So I think, as you mentioned, Kyler, that will be the unique option to say yes to that offer.
Yeah, that's a good reason why too.
I guess the only reason for that, well, a couple reasons, kind of what you guys mentioned, like it's fast money, but also, his business, maybe somebody could come out with something that's better than his, or like patent doesn't, because I know the patent is like he sent it in, but I don't know if it's been accepted yet. So maybe like, what if something happens with that, but that'd be like my only other reasoning.
That's a good focus as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Cool. So next, allow those who think he should take the offer to voice their opinions. Again, support your arguments with evidence and analysis. Well, for me, I mean, I just like I went through and did like some basic calculations on Excel with like investments and ownership percentages, and I came up with like at the end with all the investments, he would still have like a 31% ownership, with a post value of like $20 million or something like that. I can show you. I can just share my screen here for a second. just so you guys can see what I was kind of looking at. But yeah, so here's my initial founding. Doug's 44 million, Tom's 4 million, and then the employee option that they were talking about for 1,600,000. Kind of did the ownership percentages in their Series A funding for 50 cents a piece for their 3 angel investors, and then Tom Washing. Then I just did it for Series B where it was 2 times the amount, and then Series C where it was 2 times that value, and then 1.5 times that value. And that gave me total shares of 13 million, or 13.5 million about. Then I times it by the per share amount, and that gives it a post value of $20 million at a 31% ownership. So for me, I was like, why not? You know, to me,
Yeah.
it's way better in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and in regards to thinking about what the question is asking, as you just mentioned, he's able to make and raise more money if he stays with the company a little bit longer than just going right away to get a little bit of cash and sell the company by by 2 millions in cash and getting 2 millions in preferred stocks. I was reading a little bit more in external ways about the case, and they were making some evaluation about the company, and they were mentioning that this company was worth it, as it was at the time they made the offer of 4 millions. It was at least worth it for $4.5 million, having the 2 millions in preferred stocks been invested that way. So for me, as you mentioned, just Keller will be to stay a little bit more with the company than just going with that offer, because he will be able to raise more money in the long run than just going right away to get some cash and just to think that he can get some peace of mind by getting some cash for his family at this time.
Along with what you guys said, I also thought what was interesting is all the investors, they were all saying turn down the offer, and the guy that he's bringing, Shields, that he was going to bring him for the CEO, said you should turn it down. So like when you have all these experts telling you like let's keep going forward, and then also he can use the offer as a way to keep higher ownership in his business. So he could go back to the Shields guy and go, no, like I'm getting offers now, so you're not going to get 50%, you're going to get like 40%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another reason, like besides like the financial side that I was thinking, was that like these guys, Tom Shields and Tom Washing, they were both like there for him every step of the way. Like Tom Washing was advising him, he was telling him who to talk to, giving him advice on how to start a business, and then Tom Shields is like, let me help you and let me be the CEO of this company so that you can focus more on like the whole software engineering side. And they were just there for him like every step of the way. And I just feel like it's integratable. It would show integrity if he just would stay with the company, just because like they've put money and time into him, and I think he should do the same. And I think it even said at one point, Washing even said that after Doug Cosman, or however you say his name, received the call from Philip, the guy making the offer, we did start to think about how we might be able to get Doug some cash as part of the financing. So I mean, even if Doug like really needs that cash right now, he could maybe work something out with their investors where he can get a little bit of cash up front if his family really needs that, and then he can just stay with the company. Like they're willing to work with him because they need him.
Right.
Yes.
So I definitely think he should stay.
Yes, I support your hypothesis as well. Now moving on with number 6, it says that how much money will Dove receive? And then it says, giving out some hints and all of that. When making my calculations, as the company is right now, on the first point it says that he needs to give out 2 times what the first investment in cash was for the 3 angel investors. So if they were given in the very beginning $100,000, he needs to give back $600,000. So that's leaving him with 1.4 million in cash. And also with the preferred stock, he needs to give out 25%, which is 0.5 million. So in the end, he will be able to get just 2.9 million and just 1.4 million cash for his family. So it doesn't seem like too much money just to get rid of the responsibilities and get rid of the necessity of getting that cash right away. So that's another thing against selling the company.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah, absolutely.
does I don't know much about this, but doesn't it you get taxed, right, when you have a buyout? So on top of that, his money will be taxed.
Yeah,
As well.
yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of tax. It didn't say anything in the case,
It
but
didn't say the rate of it, so that is just going with general amounts.
yeah, I'm sure there's a pretty hefty tax on it
Yeah, so
if he's
I'm
getting
sure.
$2 million.
Yeah, I'm sure he would probably end up making less than $1 million off that in cash.
Yeah, yeah. And what's interesting is like his salary was 120,000 a year.
Yeah, something like
Like,
that.
Yes.
like that's a pretty dang good salary. Like I think he should be able to make that work. And obviously if the company starts making a profit, he just bumps up his salary pretty easily.
Right.
I mean, if he was talking, I think he was even saying that the other guy, Shields' salary was going to be like 250,000, match that, and like at that point, like you're making pretty dang good money at $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So definitely think that would be what you should do.
Now with number 7, it says discuss as a group how much does Shields deserve. With this one, I was thinking it was kind of tricky about what Kevin you were mentioning before, not to provide him with 50% of the ownership of shares, because if not, he will have the same authority to act for the company and make choices. So I would say within 35 to 45% to provide him, to coach him, and also to convince him to work within the company, but also not to provide him the full authority over the company.
Yeah, I said Shields probably deserves 40% of the business. And that's just based off the fact that, like, I think Doug should maintain majority ownership. And now he's got he's got a pretty big offer, so he can use that to leverage, this situation. And so I don't think Shields deserves 50% at this point.
Yeah, and I was like kind of fighting with this one. In the end, I said that I thought he deserved 50%, but I was like really hesitant on that because I mean, obviously, like the company is still in the development phase. Like there's still a decent amount of risk involved, and if Shields is taking over as CEO, like he's going to be doing a lot more of like the running the business. And if Doug is just going to be like the CTO, the chief technology officer, obviously he's going to be focusing more on just the software development and everything.
Right.
So I said like he probably deserves that 50% just because it's so early on in the development stage. But I'm like really, really hesitant on that. Like I totally would see like why a 55-45 or 60-40 split would be totally reasonable as well.
I would even say like he'd get 49% that way.
But at least have enough to keep the majority.
Yeah, just so that he has that say when it comes to decisions, because that does mean something when it comes to decisions.
Because I think what can happen is if the other investors own a portion of it and then Shields owns more than Doug, then they could come in if they wanted to and push him out.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the risk.
That's a good point as well. So why does Washing want Doug to reject the turn offer? Obviously, Washing wants him to reject it because Washing's invested money in this. He invested $100,000, and he wants to have a greater return in the long run, and he doesn't want him to just sell it out right now. Washing's put in time and like counsel into this. Obviously, he wants him to reject it.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
The next thing was, won't Washing get a pretty good return on his investment? I mean, yeah, he'd get more than double his return on his investment, but I mean, he could get a way bigger return in the long run. Especially looking at those other this other software companies that were selling for like 250 million, I think was the lowest one. I
Yeah,
don't remember.
I think one of them was 500 million. So the amount they get from this buyout is nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's because in one section it says that if everything was going okay, they were able to invest 156,000 just for the next round. So just imagine increasing more than 50% just in one round will give them, as I mentioned, huge more money in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then the next question was, why hold out for more? Obviously, there's more risk, but he's put in the time and the effort and money into this, and it has the potential to do really well as long as they can get past, actually get the product out there.
Right. Sorry.
And it's because also they're thinking about hiring Tom Shields. By hiring Tom Shields with his proven experience in raising the company, that will make the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and Shields is like super motivated about this too, so that's really good. The next question, how much does Washing give up if Doug gives Shields 50% of the equity? I can hurry and just plug that into my Excel thing. Give up if Doug gives up. Just out of curiosity. So if we gave him more like, I'm trying to think here. This question's like kind of vague, so I mean, I don't really, because it's like, how much does Washing give up if Doug gives Shields 50%? Is it saying like if he didn't give him anything, or is it like the difference between 40 to 50? That's what I'm like. Do I drop it down to 40%? I don't know. But from here, it looks like he's only giving up like 2% of the company. Let me hurry and just switch that back. Oh, it doesn't even change. His percentage wise in ownership, it's so little, as from like 40% to 50%. Like I have it rounding up so that there's obviously a slight percentage change, but not enough to make it change from 3%. It's still rounding up to 3%. So of Washing's ownership. So that's interesting.
So that is one of the reasons because Washington wants to reject the offer, because even though he knows that Shields will get 50%, for him it's not going to affect him that much.
Yeah. And then number 8, can Doug use the turn offer to his advantage if he rejects it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like you were saying, Kevin, about using it as leverage.
Yes, he will be able to, because just not showing responsibility and integrity by not selling the company that way, he will be able to gain value on his favor, and as well to maintain its company and make it bigger than what it is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And then number 9 says, click here to read the B case. I didn't even look at that. What is that?
that's another part of the case when they are thinking about hiring a vice president.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they're thinking about hiring a vice president, but Washington is mentioning actually to hire something which last name is Barr, and Shields actually supporting that idea. But what happened is that Cosman is not accepting that because this guy Barr is just rejecting and just complaining about the way the teamwork of Cosman is working, the way the engineering part's been developed. So what Shields is thinking is to hire Barr and also the impact it will have within the company. Because in this part of the case, it mentions that in the end, Shields got 40% of the shares, and Doug keep the 60%. And with that being said, they are thinking about hiring this vice president and the impact it will have in the environment and also in the company culture if they hire this guy.
That's interesting. I didn't even realize that was there. I'm gonna have to go and read that just out of curiosity.
It's not that long.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's page and a, not even really a page and a half, barely. But because like you read that more in depth, Kevin, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think they should hire this guy? Like, what do you think?
Because they are kind of hesitating. Shields, it's like using its 40% ownership of the company to make decisions against Cosman opinion. So what I would say, they need to look and do a little bit more research about a vice president, because this guy Barr is working as with the same, I don't know, because Dove is the main officer of technology, something like that, right?
Yeah, the CTO.
The CTO, and Barr has the same employment right now, but at a different company. So what Shields is thinking is to hire this guy Barr like very quick. What I would say, they need to do a more research, a deeply research, to find someone that they are able to evaluate several candidates and not to hire this guy, because as the next part of the case says, it's making this case very complicated to make a decision on. So I would say they need to step a little bit and also to get more candidates to make this decision.
Yeah, I read that part too. I don't think they should bring the guy on, in my opinion. He's not even on, and he's already wanting to like kind of dismantle Doug's team, and he's already trying to like become the main guy, and he just seems like the type of guy who's going to try to push everybody out so he can become the CEO.
Correct. So because on that part of the case says that Barr don't even know a lot of the things that that company is working with, and does not know a lot about that company specifically. So by not knowing what you will be working with, certainly will make the difference.
Right.
That's really interesting, actually.
Yes, because that's the 10th question, actually. It says about considering this decision will affect the following: certainly the company culture, the leadership of the team, and the investors' relationships. Because the investors and all of that, this guy Barr is complaining a little bit about the way this company is working and the way they are developing the tasks to actually launch this venture. So it certainly will affect this company if they go ahead and hire this guy.
I agree. Be a huge negative effect on the company.
Certainly.
And all three of those bullet points.
Yeah.
So now moving on to number 11, there is another part of the case. It's a read the C case. And what does the right things for the company mean? Should Tom fire Dog? Does Yieldex need Cosman anymore? On this part of, I don't know if you both read this section as well.
No, I missed that.
Okay, no worries. On this one, it's a little short one. It came up as a PowerPoint in my computer. It says, I would read this literal to you. It says that 6 months later, an email from John Barr, the Vice President Engineering, to Tom Shields. It says that Tom, though continues to be disruptive, his salary is $170,000. He holds the title of CTO, which I should have. His team wasn't functional and has been replaced. At the board meeting today, do the right things for the company. So this is what the consequences I was looking for based on the previous section of this case.
Yeah,
So,
this guy is trying to push him out. He wants to take the guy's role as a CTO. He wants to take Doug's role.
because it was his original employment, actually.
Yeah. It's sad that this type of stuff actually happens where the original creator gets pushed out.
Because I don't know how and what way this thing will work if still Doe has the 60% of the shares and they want to fire him. Actually, if he has the 60% still of the shares, and actually what this guy Bart did was just to replace the entire team, because he thought actually that that team was not working very well, just for that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I just like looked at it. I opened up the PowerPoint, just that little tiny paragraph, and it's like, yeah, this guy literally just wants to get in. It appears like the guy just wants to get in and kind of take credit for Doug Kosman's work and basically just take over, discredit him a little bit there.
And this is one of the most important things, and because why Shields wanted to get the 50% and be a co-founder in the very beginning, because he wants to be the big guy in this company and going over the first fundator of this company. And just thinking and reading this part of the case is making me think about the first decision he got about selling the company. Because in the end, he said, do you want to change your minds about this, buy it now? And this is kind of tough because he needs the cash, but not just like $1 million. He's able to raise quite more with his company, but just really he needs to think about the way he will manage its company after hiring Shields and giving out like 40%. It could be like 35% or 30%, so still he can be up on the control of his company.
Yeah. I guess that really affects my thoughts on whether he should whether if Shields should get like the 50% or not, because I feel like if he just mains that upper edge on Shields and everyone else, then situations like that in the future won't happen, or they're way less likely to happen because he has that higher ownership in the company.
Right, and especially if Shields had 50% and the other investors had just a little bit, that means that because the investors were all in for having Barr come in too, and so all you need is just the investors' ownership and Shields' ownership, and you could basically take out Doug.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's do a quick summary.
All right.
Call it good. So starting off, I just lost all my questions. I accidentally pushed back. The first one was if he should do the buyout or stick with it, and we all voted that he should stick with it.
Correct. And then I can read the questions if you want to. For number 4 and number 5 was thinking about what we would say yes to accept the offer. And one of the things that we would mention is that for him to get cash and also to think about the future of the company if someone else has come with something better than his. And the other thing will be to think about his own future inside the company by giving out 50% shares for Shale to get as co-founder in the very beginning.
Yeah, good.
Yes, number 6 was how much money will Duff receive, and we were mentioning that including taxes and all the money that he needs to give back, because the way he will sell the company, he will hold like around $1 million or less than $1 million in cash.
Yeah.
Right.
Then number 7 was how much does Shields deserve? and we were mentioning about the same, like less than 50%. So still, Doug can keep the majority of shares and control over his own company. And the same thing affecting Washington wanting to reject this turn offer, and also if it will affect his investments in his return on investments as well. So we were mentioning that because he will be able to raise a lot of money and make a lot of money in the long run, that is why he wants to reject this offer, and also having as a backup shield to make this company to grow. So that is why they want to keep the company, because it looks promising.
Yeah. And initially I was thinking like a 50-50 split would be fair on this, but now I'm definitely leaning more towards he definitely needs to have that upper edge on shields, just for security purposes in the future, and because it is his idea and everything.
Yeah, I say give him like probably around 40 at most.
Yes, at the most percent. Because going with number 8 and 9, saying that can Doc use the turn offer to his advantage if he rejects it? Actually, yes, he can take advantage of it, because number 9, one thing that I forgot to mention is that after he gave 40% to its ownership to Shields, he stays with 60%, but because he needed cash, he sold 20% of his ownership. So by selling that amount, he was able to stay just with 40%. So that is why they were able to think about firing him. So that is why we all thought that they do not need to hire this John Moore to run the company actually, and run the culture and the environment and the leadership inside the company. So they need to research a little bit more to hire a very good vice president engineer, and then just going with the first option that came up.
Yeah, that's completely right. I don't think there's any harm in looking for other qualified people out there, because I'm sure there's plenty of people out in the industry that have been in fields very similar to this that would be willing to maybe come on board as well.
And the number 11 question was to do the right thing for the company. So we all thought that they do not need to fire Doug, since actually he's the founder of the company, and they can fix this issue in the very beginning by not hiring this John Barr guy, not to run the company, actually just to think beforehand before arriving at this point. But having this point in front of us, just we all can think that they need to keep Doug inside the company, and also to research for a little bit more capable personnel to hire for the company.
Yeah, exactly. And this is like doing a little bit more talking on this. I guess that's what kind of changed my mind about the 50-50 split. Was I think it gives Doug a little bit more of an edge if he's got a higher percentage ownership in the company. So I think that's really important in this point.
Right. It says, like, would you change your mind on the ballot? And no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It ended up actually getting bought out later on by AppNexus, I think.
Yes, he can sell the company later on for quite more money than just for $1 million.
Yeah, it makes me curious on how much they did sell it for, because I looked that up as well, but I couldn't find anywhere how much they bought him out for.
It says AppNexus buys Yieldex for around $100 million.
Wow. So, I mean, not quite as much as they were probably hoping or looking towards, but I mean, $100 million. I want to go through and do the math on that a little bit and just kind of see how much of his split he got out of that. But I'm sure it was a lot more than the 1 million that he was probably going to get. Maybe not even 1 million after taxes.
By the way, I looked all these people up on LinkedIn, and all of them except for, I think, Doug work for AppNexus now.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Good discussion this week.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you the link.
All right.
Thank you. So I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, see you later.